If you are not engaged in language, you will have a hard time fully engaging in any form of higher. Oops. Are you guys? I'm going to mute you, friends. Sorry. Hey, good morning. If think about it, if you are not engaged in language, you will have a hard time fully engaging in any form of higher education. So I thought about that. As I had watched these high school students growing up in the ghetto take down their struggles and press them to pen and paper, I watched their hearts grow lighter. I thought about on many occasions that I myself had taken a dark situation and released it from myself through art, had transformed it, something was painful or dark, into something that was now empowering, a piece of art. It brought me to this question. Are we speaking the language of our hearts? Are we truly listening to what love means to us? How we express as love and using these moments to create and to empower us? And going back to the knowing that all the answers live within us, let's get started in these conversations with our hearts. The conversation will really be expanded upon in the CD accompaniment Art of Love, where you can actually go on a guided journey, which we're going to do today, friends. FYI, before it's up, so get excited. But let's start the conversation by entering politely. Here we are pouring tea, sitting across the table from each other, batting eyes. The teapot conjures up steam from its heat as delicate sugar cubes melt, and we are getting to know ourselves, melting into our conversation. What does love mean to you? I asked some people in my life this question, and here are their responses. I'm going to take a sip of my drink. So good. I'm actually drinking a nice coffee. And I have some water, too. I always encourage people to stay hydrated, especially when you're doing any kind of energy work. And I want to have you guys answer that question. So we're going to hold about a minute of silence in just a second. But before we do that, I want you to just grab a pen and paper if you don't have one. And if you don't have a pen and paper or you're driving, it's all good. Just think of the answer to that question and try to hold that with you. But before I have you guys think of what it means to you, I want to read some responses that I got from some people that I asked in my life to sort of give you an idea in a direction to head in. Okay. Love is total acceptance of oneself and others, surrendering to what is. We all have it in us. And that is Marcus Armijo, or my friend Arjuna Ross. I believe is with us today. Thank you, Arjuna. We love you. We feel you. Love is that feeling of relief I get when my husband hugs me, or the way my heart beats a little faster when I think of how much my children mean to me. It's a little handicapped girl collecting money in the front of the grocery store, and it's a smile from a stranger. Love is forgiving and forgetting, really forgiving. There are a million different degrees of love. It can be intimate and it can be casual. It is more present in my life than ever before, and I'm so thankful for it. That was Alicia Romano, my fabulous big sister. She's an amazing woman. She really is, if you can hear. Love is an ingredient to me. It's sprinkled in all the things I do. Sometimes it's the main dish, sometimes the dessert. Sometimes I think it may not be good for me, so I admit. I feel love even for the people I don't know. I have love for all living creatures. For everything beautiful, I have love. Even for mean, crouchy, hurtful, angry user people. I have love. It's all encompassing and can be applied to everything. It should be. Even when someone dislikes me, I sneak attack them with ninja love. This can be shared with everyone. That was my friend Carolyn Thomas. So after reading some of these examples, now I'm going to put a minute on the clock here. Guys, let's take a minute, starting now, and write down, and I'll be completely silent for you, write down what love means to you. Starting now. What does love mean to you? Okay, yay. So 1 minute is up, friends. So what does love mean to you? And you guys can continue on your own, but this just is to start really getting you actively involved in the in the art class. And you guys can ask me any questions as well via email, privately, etc. And I'll be happy to answer them for you as well about your answer or getting the answer and all, etc. Okay, so looking at the next step or the next thing, we have a little bit of time. I actually want to read you guys a story insert from the book Art of Love. And this story insert is after chapter 1. And there are a few story inserts throughout the book, I guess, at the end of each chapter. And what that ended up being is I channeled the book and I wrote the outline of Art of Love with all the different concepts, right, for each chapter, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, the 6 chapters in the book. Chapter 1, everything is love. 2, love of self, etc. And from that regard, it was all just the advice or the wisdom or the answers to the key concepts, and it was space for everyone to write their responses out. Okay, but there was really not that much of my story involved in it, and so it just kind of came to me, story insertions throughout the book, and then it timed out just sort of perfectly and kind of really naturally. I just typed them up as they came, if you will, with the book. So, and to the end of where I was when I actually released the book, which is a really cool place. Okay, so before we kind of step into the next part and do the guided visual, this is the first story insertion, and the only other time I've read this is at the first Art of Love book signing that I did at Heart and Soul, which was an awesome night. So anyways, it's called Turkey Trouble. I think back over my life, over all of its moments. What things do I remember? I mean, what things do we actually recall? And what are recollections from pictures we've seen as we remember when? I remember the feeling of carpet beneath my legs as I slid down the stairs of our rented space in Massachusetts, laughing out loudly with my sister, older by a year, Alicia. I'll always remember the way a certain lip gloss felt and tasted as I removed it from its holder and smeared it on my lips. I felt large and in charge as I walked upon the wooden planks that lined outside of the space. The green, the soft sun, and the light of above sea level. Does life come down to a matter of a series of these little moments? And is it up to us to whether or not we live them? Since I feel it has been up to me, I share with you all some luscious tales about my life and how I feel that I've designed it as, that I'm designing it as. Wonderful. It started with awareness and a keen business sense. I remember that I preferred not to take no for an answer, and I considered it more of a jumping-off point. I remember realizing quickly that things in life cost money and that I liked to enjoy the pleasure of certain things. For instance, ice cream. I can hear the sweet melodic chimes of that truck now turning in my head, and the way my stomach would leap inside. The thought of cherry melodic, icy, slushy sweetness melting in my mouth, melting on top of the little wooden spoon that was included in the round gumball I'd find at the bottom, or, depending on my taste, the chocolate-dipped vanilla swirled waffle cone. But it was all bliss, and I recall always knowing that I'd like to have money for the ice cream truck. I didn't understand monies in the broad sense. I just knew that it was something we exchanged, that people put value on. We just picked that object, I thought, and because we all said it was so, we made it worth something. I used to pick flowers from people's own gardens, and I'm sorry, friends, that I did this now. I repent, and walk to their doors and sell them for 10 cents. I would create song and dance routines with my sister and charge people to see them. Since age 3, my mother would have us sing songs to people and reward us with our favorite chocolate candy bars. I figured out quickly we were A, in demand, and B, could receive something for what we had created, thus given to the world. This was my first taste of being an independent artist and sustaining on my own creations. I'll always thank my mother for that. At this point of my childhood, Pink Citrus Trailer Park was where we called home. Living in a double wide, my mom, now single, had moved us down to the island town when I was about 6 months old, from the cold New England state of New Hampshire. My dad was supposed to have a timeshare job that never panned out, so he became a fisherman for a while, and my mom worked at Jug Creek Marina. Many of my childhood days were spent there, many of them spent barefoot running on Shell Rock roads. Nothing was paved back then. I remember watching the boats come in, the smell of the cold fish and the ice. I remember the foreign guy who worked in the fish house and always drank beer in between pulling up baskets. Fernando was his name, and I tasted my first sip of alcohol then. The can was just left there open. My parents never knew. They are probably finding out with all of you now. Our past can shape us if we allow it. Like a beautiful carving created from a rock, we can use these moments, even the ones that hurt a bit or don't feel so good, to our benefit, because they wake us up to who we are. In these darkest spaces, we are able to see the light of our heart shining. Though if we look and then when we remember who we are and what we have a choice, and that we have a choice about what we create. I tend to approach life two ways. One is full on, and the other is with a bit of apprehension, a bit of caution. I've decided to add stories about my journey, and one is of my first and most prominent lessons involved a turkey. Yes, a turkey, I say. No, not like naked and slathered in butter and covered in bacon and all dressed up and ready to go in the oven, like an actual live turkey that lived in our trailer park, along with other wild animals such as peacocks. Love the beautiful feathers, but peacocks have this absurd scream that is really loud, and its particular sound you will never forget. We had one that favored the little tin shed in our backyard and made its morning calls there to China, I can only guess. Anyways, back to the turkey. So this turkey is a crazy, and it was like attacking people every morning at the bus stop. See, this trailer park doubled as a nature conservatory. No, not really, but kind of. There was lots of land, especially where we were, which happened to include open grass in our backyard and a huge tree we climbed often. It then opened up to more grass. Friends, I just realized if I don't get into the guided visual now, we really won't have time to do it and to finish. So that was bad timing on my part. And forgive me on that. And I will finish this story. I promise I'll finish it in a separate video and post it for you guys because it's a good story and hope by now captured your attention. My first bully was a turkey, yes, and you're going to love how that ends. Okay, so let's go into the guided visual. Let's all close our eyes, take a deep breath if we can, and visualize a warm golden light starting to build from around the tips of your toes. And you'll want to be in a comfortable, sacred, safe place for this part of the visual. So if you're driving, you can kind of tune out and join us later. Visualize a warm golden light building around the base of your toes and moving upwards over your legs, around your knees, and into your thighs. Relaxing, relaxing, relaxing everything in its path and opening your heart and relaxing. Visualize with every breath this energy grows and builds. Relaxing, relaxing, relaxing every part of you. As you naturally breathe, inhale in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. You visualize this